everyone, I'm Captain Logan. This is Connor Nielsen. He's back in person. We are going to give you part 2 of our favorite / least favorite movies from the 2010s. We did our top 10 each last video, and then we ran out of SD card space. And so I said, the founder of the end! And now we're going to give you some of our runner-ups of favorite movies. Well, that'll make this video seem a little bit less negative, won't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's good, because this video is going to be very negative, because we're going to just, on principle, because we're going to talk about movies that we really dislike.
Yes. Look, I try to be positive in all things I do. I try to be cordial, but look, I watched a lot of movies this decade, and some of them are so bad, and like they've just stuck in my mind.
And you need a catharsis.
I gotta purge them, and I gotta let you know. I gotta let you know what I think.
So this is The Purge, then?
Well, The Purge didn't make the list.
One of the things on your list?
I didn't watch any of the Purge movies.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Weirdly, I thought the prequel one they made, the first Purge, was the most interesting looking one.
Oh no!
And I almost went and saw that. Did you see the first Purge?
I did see the first Purge, but I didn't watch the Purge 2013.
How was the first Purge?
It was lame.
Was it pretty bad?
It was lame.
Oh, well then I guess I'm glad I didn't go see that.
Yeah. Wait, no, I also saw Election Year. I guess I've seen 2 of the 4 Purge movies. They don't stick with me, as you can tell.
How do you go from I didn't see any of them to I saw half of them?
I don't remember.
That's amazing.
Frank Grillo's in the third one. And I thought it was
I don't know who that is.
He's Crossbones from.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought it was like just some generic action movie, and I'm like, wait, no, he punched people with like creepy masks. That's a Purge movie, I think. I gotta purge my thoughts on some of these things.
So before we do that, like I said, getting a little bit more positive, we're going to talk about some of our runner-ups. Now, I'm kind of glad that we did this as 2 videos, actually, because it will have now been several days since you guys saw the last one, so some of the things that came up that were runners-up that we already had to reveal, we can talk about again, and it won't seem as weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so Connor, do you want to start? Should we just go like back and forth? Just like you throw one out, I throw one out?
Yes.
We won't talk a long time about these, we'll just kind of throw out some titles and maybe just a real quick how come it's not higher, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Let's throw some things out. Go ahead.
The Dark Knight Rises would have been number 7 on my list, but we weren't doing superheroes.
We weren't doing superheroes, yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you know what? Feel free to throw out like superhero movies that would have made your top 10 since you didn't get to do that because I'm doing a written list, but I don't want you to not get to talk about those things. We just.
So the 3 that were in my top 20, one was in my top 10. That's Dark Knight Rises. That would have been my number 7. I think in terms of just spectacle, epic, classic Hollywood filmmaking, it was really, really good, and it was kind of Nolan's kind of Lord of the Rings, basically, in terms of production. And I know...
Can I say I agree with all of that?
Yeah, and I am a production guy.
Yeah, sure.
I know you're very story-oriented, and I know that, and I respect that, and so I get why you don't get...
But did you notice in my rewind, if you saw it, I don't know if you saw it, I talked more about production with that than I have ever talked about anything.
And
because
I saw
it's really interesting.
It is very interesting.
Man, all the like model work in that, like there's a bunch of miniature stuff.
And the sets are gorgeous too.
Yeah.
And like the way he captures like those miniatures look life size. It reminds me a lot of in Voyage Home. Like those whales are miniatures and they look amazing.
They look amazing. Yeah.
But then the other 2 superhero movies were Captain America: Civil War, which I think is far and away the best Marvel Cinematic Universe film, and I would have had Days of Future Past, which I love.
You know how I feel about that.
Yes, I do.
Days of Future Past would have also been in my top
10.
Spoiler alert, you might hear me gush about that again when I do the rewind.
It's so good.
It's so good.
But anyways, but then one of my...
Do you like The Road Cut? Did you ever watch The Road Cut?
I own it, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, okay, cool.
So let's see, I guess just one runner-up I can throw out there. Inside Out.
Yeah. It's a great movie. Cabin in the Woods.
Haven't seen it.
Love Cabin in the Woods. I did a rewind on it. I liked it even a lot more after I wrote about it.
Lego Movie.
Yeah, and you said that would have been like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
That was in my top. Flight.
I never saw Flight.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a Robert Zemeckis movie, right?
It is.
I really want to see it. And it got Denzel in it.
Denzel, yeah.
It looked really good. I wanted to see that.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it several years later, but...
Everybody Wants Some, which is a Richard Linklater movie that's a spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused.
Never heard of that, yeah.
It came out 2 years after...
That keeps coming up. I'm sorry, I didn't like that movie.
That came out 2 years after Boyhood. That was his follow-up to Boyhood. And that's
Is it another college movie?
Yeah, because Dazed and Confused takes place... it's the last day of school, just kind of in high school.
That's right.
And then Everybody Wants Some is like the 3 days before college classes start, but people are at college.
But totally different characters, not the same
but
universe.
it's got Tyler Hoechlin, who's Superman.
Oh yeah.
It has Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's kid. It's got Blake Jenner, who was at one point married to Melissa Benoist or whatever. It's got a great cast. And
Interesting.
It's a party movie, and Rasco, that was the movie that won him over on Richard Linklater.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Oh, Don John.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt's movie.
Yeah.
I saw that.
And it made me uncomfortable, and then it was brilliant. It's such a good character study. That is one of those like textbook. This is how you write a character arc kind of movies.
Yeah.
And he wrote and directed that.
Yeah.
Could we get some more movies written by him, please?
Yeah, buddy.
Levitt, write some stuff. Where are you?
Where are you at, buddy? Star Wars Episode 8: The Last Jedi. Little Women was my favorite movie of 2019. It was wonderful.
Chef.
I didn't see Chef.
I just watched it a couple months ago. It's brilliant.
Oh, man. I actually rented that, and then I ran out of time to watch it. But I wanted to see that.
Yeah.
Hell or High Water.
I don't know what that is.
2016 movie. It was nominated for Best Picture. It stars Chris Pine and Ben Foster. There are a couple of brothers who are robbing banks, and then Jeff Bridges is a...
Oh, I remember seeing trailers for that, now that you say that.
Awesome.
Is it?
It's written by the guy who wrote Sicario, and he also wrote Wind River, if anyone's seen that. But it's a really good movie, and it's awesome.
Interesting. Fury Road. You put that in your top 10. I couldn't quite get there with it, but...
And then, how many more are left you want to do?
Let's see. I've got... Wow, I still have several. I can just blow through a bunch of them after.
All right. I'll just blow through a few, and then you can blow through.
Go ahead. Sure, that sounds good.
The Martian.
This is fun. I didn't see The Martian. I need to finally do that.
I want to rewatch it. It didn't make my top 10 because I've only seen it once, but I really liked it in the theater, and it's just really, really good. It has an amazing cast. The Nice Guys.
Yeah, I've got that one too.
John Wick, which was on your list.
Yep.
Is awesome. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which was the latest Tarantino movie, starring Leo and Brad Pitt. It's you need to watch it because there's something in the credits that you would love.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and then Logan and Mission Impossible Fallout. So.
Mission Impossible Fallout, I forgot about. I don't think I would have put that in my top 10, but it's great. That should be a runner-up, awesome. Absolutely. Star Trek Beyond, Rogue One, I like a lot. Baby Driver was on your list. Happy Death Day.
Really?
I love Happy Death Day, man. Arrival was almost there.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I just watched it this weekend, which is part of the reason I didn't put it there because I haven't had time to really let it settle.
I understand.
But DJ made me watch. He made me watch, so I have a whole video about it. I did The Matrix and he did Arrival, which were interesting movies to talk about together. I don't want to say anything about it for folks that have not watched that because you don't want anything about that spoiled at all. But it's a aliens landing movie in a way you've never seen it before, and I think what's her face is amazing in that movie.
Amy Adams.
Amy Adams, yeah.
And it's got a perfect ending. Perfect ending.
Yeah. Annihilation.
That is one that I'm not as warm on as everybody else.
Okay.
But I really liked the last 20 minutes.
It was horrifying. I can't make sense of the last 20 minutes of that movie.
I thought it was awesome.
It is awesome. I don't totally know what's happening. I have a bunch of stuff here. The documentary "Won't You Be My Neighbor."
I really want to watch that.
It's wonderful. Alita, I loved.
I'm glad that movie exists.
I love it.
I'm glad that movie exists.
Us.
Yes.
Rocket Man, and Toy Story 4.
Toy Story 4 was great.
Forky is one of the greatest creations of anything of all time, and I love it. And I don't know why I just threw my notes because I need them.
Well, you don't have a mic, but you had Forky and you dropped it.
I dropped the Forky.
Yeah.
We're really lucky that movie wasn't called Toy Story Forky. Anyway.
That's if Illumination made it. It would be called Toy Story
Forky. Yeah. Oh no, what we're really lucky about is that Forky wasn't introduced in 3. Because if everybody knew what Forky was, then it could have been called Toy Story Forky. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love making you cringe though. It's fun.
That prospect is it's just believable enough for where it could have actually happened.
So I feel like we really set a great mood for this video because we got to mention a whole bunch of really great movies, and now we're just gonna rip into some trash.
All right.
Or some stuff we think is trash. So disclaimer: if you love any of these movies, more power to you. But we didn't like them, or at least. It'll be really fun to see if there's anything that you said or I said that the other person actually likes.
Yeah.
I wonder if that will happen.
I don't think you've seen any of these, and the ones you have.
Any of them? Man.
I mean,
okay.
I've seen some crap. So
Yeah. Okay.
let me go with number 10.
Yeah. Let's just get
From
started.
2010, starring Amy Adams and Ozymandias from Watchmen.
Yeah.
Leap Year.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
This was a romantic comedy about Amy Adams, who is in a relationship with, I think, Michael Sheen, who I really like as an actor.
He's been in some bad
It's
movies.
Adam Scott from Parks and Rec. That's who it is.
not Martin Sheen.
No, it's not. They look like they could be maybe related, but
Different person.
very different. But Leap Year is about this. So she's in a relationship with Adam Scott, and he's not proposed to her yet. And so she goes to Ireland to early before he gets there because they're going to go on vacation. And then she's like, well, it's a leap year. And that means the woman can propose to the man this year. And then while she's over there, she runs into Matthew Good, who is Ozymandias from the Watchmen movie. And
Who does a fine performance but is miscast, in my opinion.
he's a good actor.
He was not right for Ozymandias.
No, he wasn't. And he's also directed wrong in that movie.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
But it is a very bad, very cheaply produced rom-com that's supposed to serve as like some kind of like tourist video for Ireland. And there is a scene where they are in a car together that looks like it was from Saturday Night Live. It looks like there's a rear projector behind them. They're in a car that doesn't have any wheels, and they're just like shaking it to make it look like they're on a road or something. And
that's amazing.
I was like, this car is going to get destroyed in the next scene because they are not going to have multiple scenes of this, and they destroy the car in the next scene. It's terrible, not funny at all. The worst romantic comedy. Like at the end of like the end of the the end of the 2000s and the start of the 2010s was kind of like the death of the romantic comedy, and it's stuff like this that killed me.
Wow.
Leap Year.
Wow, that's amazing. My number 10, this will either not be on your list or will be really high on your list, is Serenity. And I can't put it any higher because it's a really interesting failure, and it's horrible, but I kind of enjoy trying to figure it out because it's just so bizarre. But like a lot of the other things on my list just make me angry. And that movie is fascinating. It's like I couldn't put BVS on. Well, it might go on a worst list, but if it was like worst list of everything in a year, I probably wouldn't put it there. You know what I mean?
But that movie's too interesting.
Yeah.
But so Serenity is nowhere near my bottom list. It's a terrible movie.
Yeah.
But I encourage people to watch it. I texted you
just as like a
immediately
treatise of what not to do, or
it's remarkably entertaining for as boring as it is.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. I went and saw it twice in theaters.
It's a script that feels like a thing that I might have workshopped in like sophomore year in college, and to say that the people don't talk like real people is an understatement. It is one of the strangest scripts I've ever read. The big reveal of what's actually happening and the premise and the mythology of it is bizarre.
It almost feels like that is supposed to pull the rug out from under you. See, this is why the dialogue's been so bad. It's like, no. Bad dialogue is bad dialogue, and it makes you look dumb because of this twist.
You're right. There's a whole lot of caveats in that where it's like, we know this doesn't work, but here's the reason. And I'm like, no, you just made it worse. You totally made it worse. And it's like, it's it's insanely pretentious. Like the name of the boat. Like, it's insanely pretentious. And,
The fish called Justice?
No, that's why it was a fish, not the boat. The fish called Justice!
Fish called Wanda, get out of here. Fish called Justice.
Man, I want to say things, but I don't want to give away anything in case somebody wants to have the experience that I had watching. A lot of good actors giving insane performances because what else are you going to do with that script? I don't know how it got the actors it got. I don't know if I've ever been able to say this, and I should have reviewed it. I don't know if I've ever been able to say this after seeing, or maybe I did talk about it.
You did.
I did. I don't think I've ever been able to say this after watching something. I don't understand who the protagonist is, and I don't mean I don't understand the character that that's supposed to be. I mean, I don't know what that is. Like, I don't know what it is.
Is it a soul? I don't know.
Is it a figment of an imagination? Like, what is it?
I don't know.
It doesn't compute at all.
This is the 2019 movie released in January. It's a definite January movie.
Yes, we're not talking about Joss Whedon's Serenity.
No. But I texted you immediately after I saw this movie and I said, Cap, you need to watch this.
Do you remember what my response was?
Oh, I said, you will not believe this movie got made. And you said, it's that good?
Is it that good?
Said, oh no, it's that bad.
And I rushed out and watched it that day.
Yeah, I was in the middle of watching The Kid Who Would Be King and I got your message. That was stupid.
And all we did for the next hour was just text back, how does that work? And what is that?
I don't know how you can get programming drunk.
It's one of those movies that the most amazing thing about it is that it got made.
Yes.
I don't understand. Anyway, we got to blow through this faster. What's your 9?
My number 9
What's your
is...
9, sir?
So, you know what movie series I really hate?
Uh-oh. What do you hate?
It's those Ron Howard directed movies starring Tom Hanks that starts with the Da Vinci Code and then goes into Angels and Demons.
Oh, I guess he did do all of those. Angels and Demons looked terrible.
It was remarkably bad. And then we got the third in that series in 2016 called Inferno.
Yeah.
And it is a nightmare. Now, when it came to the I think
was it a towering Inferno?
It was a spectacle of bad. It was a towering.
Wow.
So this movie, I don't like these movies because basically Mark Kermode, the British film critic, the way he explains these movies is perfect. He says that like all Da Vinci Code is run to new location, explain the plot. Run to new location, explain the plot some more. Run to new location, explain the plot. And then Angels and Demons breaks new ground. They run while they explain the plot. And it's always just like retrograde Indiana Jones thing where it's just like, well, this is an artifact that was owned by Michelangelo. Michelangelo was 13 years old. That means we need to go to the 13th chapel that he did any artwork for, and behind the 13th panel, the 13th painting, we're going to see the next clue for the movie.
It's a 60s Batman episode?
It's basically a 60s Batman episode, but takes itself very seriously.
It's the only possible answer.
And then all these movies are structured the same way, where Robert Langdon, who's played by Tom Hanks, who's like a symbologist, I think is what they call him, and he's like,
that sounds real.
I understand symbols, and let's go to this location. And then at the end of every second act,
the face he makes.
Yeah, I'm Tom Hanks. And so it's like he at the end of every one, at the end of every second act of these movies, he goes to a location. Oh no, I messed up. It was actually this other location. And this movie has of all the unbelievable stuff that happens in this, the one thing I could not buy happens in this. I'm supposed to believe that Tom Hanks and Ben Foster were the same suit size. No. That's a plot point. That's
amazing.
And it looks horrible. Ron Howard makes good-looking movies. I don't think Solo looks all that good, but there's some decent cinematography work in there, despite the bad lighting, I think. I
had the same thing, yeah.
I actually have grown to kind of appreciate Solo. And the last act of that movie is a lot of fun.
I think so too. Yeah.
But Inferno was it doesn't feel like Ron Howard made this, and the luxury I had with the first two, I didn't watch them in theaters so I could pause them and go do something else because they're long, exhausting, and boring. This is the shortest one by some time. It felt like I was in that theater for 3 days. And it is filmed incompetently. The action scenes when they happen, I don't know what's happening, and it sucks a lot. That's Inferno.
That's amazing. My number 9, and there might technically be a lot of worse movies even that I saw than this movie, but it just made me angry and I hated it. And it's Men in Black International. It's a really bad movie.
Thank you. It's
sorry.
So bad.
It sucks.
It's in my bottom 10 of 2019.
Is it really?
Oh yeah.
And do you are you a Men in Black guy?
Not really.
Okay.
I went back and rewatched all the Men in Black movies, and I think the first Men in Black is the first Rambo movie, where it's good, not great, but I see why it became a thing.
And then it all goes downhill from there.
And like Rambo, it all goes downhill from there.
Yeah, I mean, 3 is better than 2, but that's not saying anything.
It's not saying anything.
Men in Black International is a horse of a different color, man. It's too long, it's bloated, it's meandery, it doesn't know what it wants to be. It is. It has new characters that are unlikable, unbelievable, and uninteresting. It has a what's his face, Thor guy. Chris Hemsworth is not good at improv, and could we all please stop pretending like he is? I'm sorry, I don't think he's good at it. I think when he's directed and has a script, he's a great actor. I think that when you just leave him to his own devices and you act like he's in an episode of Whose Line Is It Anyway, he's not funny. And he is supposed to be like this dumb, bumbling idiot, and then there's supposed to be like a reason for, like a conceit for it, and it's like really convoluted, right? And it's like, okay, so this whole time he's supposed to be this really like competent, he's like the new Agent J, he's like this really competent guy, but we don't get to ever see that because something has already been, happened to him that monkeys with that. But then when you get to the end, when like they figured it out, he's still like that? And I don't know what's going on in that movie.
I don't feel like I understand either of the leads of that movie.
Yeah.
Especially when I get to the end, like, I don't know what...
These are not people, like...
And it's built on some really dumb things that I just can't buy.
Yes.
Like, here is this woman who is talking about trying to fight an agency and is very visibly into the extraterrestrial. Oh, she just disappeared one day. I wonder what happened to her.
Yeah.
And then there's the...
Yeah, like, it's like, sometimes it's insulting, and...
Oh, how did you like the thing where that one bad guy turned out to be an alien that she saved when she was a little kid?
And now you say that...
How convenient!
I haven't thought about this in a while because it's terrible. Doesn't it also kind of have that thing where it's like, were you guys writing a movie or an entire season of television? Where it's like, then there's all these random subplots that have nothing to do with anything.
No.
Where I'm like, why are we running off this rabbit hole? It's really awful.
After watching it, I called it 2019 Suicide Squad. And then learning about its production, it basically was the 2019 Suicide Squad.
I figured it must have been mired in insanity. And it made me wish that they had made that 21 Jump Street crossover,
Yes.
which was not a thing I cared to see. And then I saw this, and I was like, that sounds fun now. Like,
I watched Men in Black International immediately after watching Midsummer. Now, I wasn't crazy about Midsummer, but it's a very interesting movie that has a lot of interesting things to think about. This was not a good palate cleanser.
I appreciated that it had that they decided to do a sort of pseudo-soft reboot thing where they'd have like entirely new actors and they'd set it in a different country and they didn't feel the need to reboot. And now after this, if they ever make another one, they better full-on reboot because there's nothing else you can do with it.
Yeah, it's terrible. I'm gonna go number 8. Number 8 is...
Yeah. I'm waiting with bated breath.
The only animated movie on this list.
Yeah, I don't have one.
Smurfs: The Lost Village.
Oh, well, why did you watch that?
It was 2017. It was a different time. Look, while we were all
3 years ago,
hanging out, saying, "Oh, the Emoji Movie is like the worst thing ever."
Yeah.
You guys don't realize this. The same production company, Sony Pictures Animation, released a worse movie earlier that year, but y'all didn't see it because it didn't look like it would be the worst movie ever made, but it basically was.
Wow.
It is so bad. It is like the worst animated movie I saw in the last 10 years. And I saw Ice Age 5. I saw The Wildlife, which nobody's heard about because it was a Canadian project that just happened to get limited distribution in America.
Did you see The Lorax? That was pretty bad.
I did not see The Lorax, thank God.
That was rough.
I saw Despicable Me 3.
I didn't see that, but I'm cringing just because of the trailers, man. Like,
look, I'm a twin, okay? Nobody can do twins right in movies. Stop it. I'm kind of at the point where I don't want representation anymore.
But also just
because it's all bad representation.
Could we make an animated movie that's not Disney or Pixar with some class? Like,
oh, Leica tries.
Well, yeah, okay. I'm not saying there's not other studios that don't do that. Okay, what I'm really saying is, hey, Illumination, could you make a movie with class? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Those movies are insulting to like people who are actually paying the money, because the people that would appeal it to don't have to. They're children. They don't pay for the movie.
That's a really good point.
My ex-girlfriend is an animation junkie. She will not watch any Illumination movies on principle because of like their business philosophy.
Okay, so I will just give this away right now. My 11 was Minions, and I kind of wish now I'd found a way to get it on this list.
But Smurfs: The Lost Village it's like it was made by a bunch of old people trying to understand what trends are. Like, there seems to be a heavier emphasis on getting female-driven entertainment. what do we have? Well, we have the Smurfs. What if Smurfette, there's a whole village of Smurfettes now.
It's like watching politicians try to understand and then regulate video games.
So then, so they go to a whole village of Smurfettes, and it's just like one of those like weird things where, to be perfectly honest, I don't remember a lot about this movie.
Sure.
But it's one of those things where it's trying to overcompensate
That could be a reason to put it on the list, yeah?
It's just trying to overcompensate for being embarrassed that like the Smurfs don't have enough women in it. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, just don't make a Smurfs movie. Make something else that has ladies in it.
Yeah, like we gotta fix everything, just make something new.
It was bizarre because like, look it. No one liked the live action Smurfs movie that only had one lady in it. Now you made one that had a bunch of ladies in it. Like the problem is, it's not a lady problem. It's a bad story problem, and that's what I dislike so much about this. And then like the ending is because it's a non-Pixar animated movie.
I want to get you a T-shirt that says it's not a lady problem.
It's a bad story problem.
What says that on the back?
Yeah.
So you gotta walk around on the back and see what you're even talking about.
So the thing is, the ending of this, because it's a non-Pixar animated movie, it ends on a dance number.
Of course it
Because
does.
it's still 2005 and Shrek is hot.
Yeah.
So it ends with this whole number that's like, cause I'm a lady. And I can feel you cringing, but look, I don't think you understand how bad it was.
No, you had to sit through it.
I spent more time looking at the ceiling than looking at the screen during that ending.
Almost like you're looking away when you're seeing something like really violent or gross that you can't handle. Like
I couldn't believe it was real. And I looked down, and there's like Brawny Smurf doing like this dance move like... And I was like, okay, I'm done. I can't believe it exists. Like, it's an adventure that's not fun. It's got no funny jokes. It's an animated movie for kids. Yeah, Toy Story 4 was hilarious. So, you know, and so it's like...
And that was for everybody. Like,
and there's a lot of animated movies that are great. Not just Pixar, but like...
And I hate it when people say that, because it's like, well, yeah, let's not insult our children. Like,
look, if I was a kid, I would have hated this. That's that's where I'm going with. I've talked about that for way too long. But
that's the thing, is these things make you angry, and
man,
it brings you back to the moment, right?
Yeah.
Number 8 for me, Jupiter Ascending. Like, my review of that movie is, what? Jupiter Ascending is a movie with a whole bunch of great ideas that all should have been in 19 different movies. There is some neat world building. That's all for worlds that should not have been the same world. It's, I think, the last thing the Wachowskis made together besides that TV show.
Yeah, I think so.
I may be wrong about that. There's stuff in it that has potential. That's why it bothered me so much. Like, the protagonists are total planks of wood, and the action scenes are just like, go on and on and on. There's a whole lot of falling. There's a whole lot of like flying around in the air with me going, A, what is happening, and B, why am I supposed to care about it? And it was hard not to fall asleep, and I think the only reason I didn't was because we just put all these like anachronistic things on screen together, and none of them went together, and that kept me engaged enough to make it through the movie, because I just kept going, how did you put all those things together? Those don't good. You know, it would be like doing a crossover of like everything in like every series HBO has ever made and Sesame Street. Like these things just, one of these things is not like the others. Anyway, that movie's insane.
I don't remember it very well, but
I'm not remembering it real well either, but I'm describing my experience. Like,
I remember an old lady got into like a pool of tears and then came out as a young lady.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
There was a woman with a dress made of jellyfishes. No, wait, that was Aquaman. And then,
but some of these things were like cool images by themselves, right? And like the production values were good.
Yeah.
It's a fine looking movie, except there's just a lot of weird choices. Like,
and who can forget Eddie Redmayne?
They had great. They had good set design. They had a lot of really cool prosthetics and like practical stuff, and they just had no script. Like, it's for me the antithesis of Valerian, which I actually liked, and like a lot of people describe Valerian like Jupiter Ascending. If you think Valerian is too all over the place, watch Jupiter Ascending. It's a whole other level.
Yeah, it was a slapdash mess, and Channing Tatum was really bland.
I couldn't even remember who was in it.
I remember Mila Kunis is like, or like she's talking to him, and she's like, "Well, we can't be together because I'm part dog." She's like, "What?"
Oh, yeah, that's
she's
right.
Like, she's like,
part dog.
It's like, "What? I like dogs. I've always liked dogs." I'm like, that's the witty banter. That's the romantic tension.
Yeah, I forgot all about that.
But I mean, Eddie Redmayne is just delightful in that movie.
And the whole movie, she's just got this like vacant expression, like she's not even. Yeah.
And her name is Jupiter, because of course it is.
What's your number 7?
My number 7 is 50 Shades of Black. What is this?
That's hilarious.
It's Marlon Wayne's parody.
Why did you watch that?
Because it was 2016 and I tried to watch every bloody thing in the movie theater.
And so it's just because you saw it.
Because I saw it. Look, here's the thing. Some people might say this shouldn't count. No, it's a real movie that was in real movie theaters that I saw. Look, 50 Shades of Grey is horrible. And
well, the only reason we would say it doesn't count is if everybody hated it and it was bad. It's not like Robin Hood Men in Tights doesn't count.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. It is like the pop culture reference show. There is a whole scene. It's just taking pop cultures and going, but what if sex? Ha! Like there's a whole sequence that is a parody of, in 2016, a parody of Whiplash.
Well, see, that's exactly the kind of stuff that the guys that were making like the scary movie movies were doing when they did like disaster movie and superhero movie, and that's what everybody complained about with those things, where it was like epic movie, where it was like, well, that's an outdated reference. Like, why are we making fun of that now? And then we make fun of things that don't even fit with the genre we're parodying.
Yeah, so and like that's the thing that was like nobody saw Whiplash. You know what I mean? I mean, film fans saw Whiplash.
Yeah,
like,
we
people
we
who
put
watch
it on our top 10, both of us.
People who watch like this channel probably watch Whiplash, but like normal people who this would appeal to, who are like, I want to watch somebody make fun of 50 Shades of Grey. They might not have seen Whiplash. They probably have a friend who's seen Whiplash.
Yeah.
But it's 2016. This is 2 years after that movie came out. You know what I mean? Like, not my tempo. Get it with a sex twist. You know what I mean? It's so dumb. And then on top of that, like, you know what you need to have in a comedy that actually is very underrated in comedy, even in like wacky, silly stuff like UHF and Wayne's World.
Yeah.
And Inner Logic. UHF and Wayne's World have them.
Let's not act like UHF is anywhere close to Wayne's World.
But they're both absurdist comedies
of course.
that
have an internal logic.
That have an internal logic. And
Wayne's World much more so than UHF.
yeah, I mean, but they do play by a certain kind of rule, even if you can't define it. The reason the reason you still like it is because it obeys some kind of, it stays true to something. And this movie, like, at one point,
but you can be a total farce that has no internal logic, and that is the internal logic.
Yes.
Like Airplane.
But with this sort of thing, it's like, when you have an internal logic, you can do this thing called a payoff joke or a callback. Like, there's this one part where the whole point is that she's got a big butt, because of course she does. But then there's like this part where he's like trying to like spank her, and she's like, I don't feel anything because I got a fake butt. Do you get it, everybody? And then later it's like, oh, my butt hurts, because it's parodying the ending of 50 Shades of Grey. And it's like, but earlier the whole point of an entire scene was that you don't feel anything. And Marlon Wayans is not funny, I don't think, anyways.
So by internal logic, you're actually meaning continuity.
Yes. Yes.
You're not talking about the rules of the world. You're talking about remembering what you said 5 minutes ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
so whatever the point is, like, and on top of that, they have like, look, guys, remember The Weeknd did a song for 50 Shades of Grey? It's a guy who looks like The Weeknd, except he doesn't look like The Weeknd. He looks like some bum off the road, but they just put a wig on his head that looked like The Weeknd's hair. That wasn't funny. Like, I don't know. You probably have no interest in this movie, but I saw it and I hated it. So there you go.
Watched that.
What's your number 6?
Are you okay?
I think so.
Are you okay? World War Z.
Oh, sorry, 7.
World War Z.
I never saw World War Z.
Hate World War Z. It's bland. It's boring. It's nothing. It's just zombies again, using a title of a book I love. It's really irritating. Got hardly anything to do with the book. It's like, there's people in it that I think were based off people that were in the book, but like, why would you make a movie called World War Z and not do it in that style at all? Like, why would you do that? That book is an oral history. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you make a fake documentary? Obviously, that's what you do with World War Z. Like, And like, I don't mean to say that a thing is bad because it doesn't do it the way I would do it. What makes World War Z is that it's an oral history.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, it's just zombies again. I don't understand. It's just really dull, and like I don't care about that main character. He's really bland. He's nothing. And there's one scene where Brandon and I. We went and saw it together. We're like laughing out loud and lost our minds. And
Was it the anthill?
No, it's they're in this facility, and there's a. It's still funny. There's a zombie, and it's not intentionally funny. There's a zombie on the other side of glass, and it's supposed to be really scary because it like keeps coming up to the glass when like our characters on the other side keep like pounding on the glass, like put its face up against it, like just beat the crap out of this glass. And it's really funny, and it's supposed to. It plays like it's supposed to be, and especially when you get to the end of the movie, you're like, that was supposed to be the most unnerving part of this movie. Like,
but I've seen that trick like 100 times in like zombie movies.
Yeah, it's just, it was so uninspired, it's bad enough to be my number 7.
Wow.
That's how uninspired it was. And I know there were people who really liked that movie. I don't understand it. Like, I really detested that movie.
I almost went to go see it, but I didn't.
And to be fair, I knew going in that they weren't doing the oral history thing, or they weren't doing exactly that, and I was hoping to be won over on it, and they just didn't even try. It's just another zombie thing. Really generic, that movie.
I wish I would have seen it so I could ask you questions about it. But...
You ever read World War Z? Because it's brilliant.
I remember that was popular when I was in high school. I was maybe they should have just called this World Wars, and then that way
with a Z.
With a Z. So that way it's not like they're technically taking the title of the book, but they can still. That's like the Asylum version of this movie, right?
Yeah.
World Wars.
But wouldn't the really creative thing to do be to make a documentary?
That sounds like it would be really cool.
Where you pretend like people went to the theater who live in a world where this happened, and it's like we've documented it, and like here's these conversations with all these people that lived through it, and like I don't know, but I don't know why they didn't do that.
Are you much of a zombie guy?
So I didn't used to. I don't think of myself as a zombie guy, but I now like zombie things. Like I avoided Walking Dead for the longest time just because I didn't care, and it's really good. I don't know what to tell you. It's great. The comic and the first some number of seasons of the show, because I watched through like half of 4, and I can't decide if it's bad or not where I'm at. I just can't decide. But anyway, but like I like that fine. But my favorite zombie movie is 28 Days Later.
Okay. I don't think of myself as a zombie guy much either, but
yeah.
I always think there's cool stuff you can do with the concept. So the concept intrigues me, and I remember like when it came to World War Z.
I'm like that with vampires too. Yeah.
Like the anthill thing that they made, I was like, oh, that's kind of a weird image.
Yeah. So they had that. They had an image.
Oh.
I guess. I honestly don't even remember the anthill thing, but yeah.
It's like there's like a wall, and there's like climbing over each other.
Oh yes, okay, now I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. That's what they had. Your turn.
So 10, 9, 8, 7. Number 6 is a movie that is technically very well made, I guess. People really like this.
Okay.
It's from a director not a lot of people like. This is one people kind of give a pass to. 2013's Pain and Gain, directed by Michael Bay.
Oh, interesting.
This is a movie starring Mark Wahlberg.
You picked a Michael Bay movie that's not a Transformers movie, and either of us could have easily put Last Night on this list. I didn't even think about it, but it's awful.
Age of Extinction or Last Night for me, for sure. I understand. I understand why you're talking.
I like it this much. I mean, Age of Extinction was the one since 2 I could kind of get through. Like,
let me tell you. Like, okay, I can understand where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
Because like plot points actually happen at a normal rate in that movie.
Yeah.
And like.
The dinosaurs are fun. I don't know.
The characters like aren't completely deplorable until like the second half.
Yeah.
The way I see it is, it starts off as a movie that could possibly be kind of interesting or mildly compelling.
Yeah.
That becomes a Michael Bay Transformers movie, and
that's true.
I hate it, but anyways,
that's fair.
My stance on Michael Bay: when he makes a movie that's about something, it's somehow worse than when he makes movies that aren't about anything.
That's interesting.
So Pain and Gain is about Mark Wahlberg, Anthony Mackie, and The Rock, and they're bodybuilders. And this is based on a true story that happened in the 90s. I think they live in Miami. They kidnap a rich guy who's kind of a jerk. They like basically torture him, and they get all the money from him, and then they just kind of blow it on just like drugs and strippers and stuff, and then the law comes after them, and Ed Harris is in it and stuff. Tony Shalhoub's in it, actually, as the guy who they steal the money from. And it's basically just kind of like a Wolf of Wall Street or a Scarface or a War Dogs or a whatever, where it's just kind of a rags to riches, or like a crime story about making it big. I guess this is all going back to Goodfellas and Scarface. But but it's one of those things where, at this point, that kind of movie is like the heist movie, where it's a framework where you can just put your own artistic touches on it, and you can find out a lot about the filmmaker through the way they look at their characters at the center of these kinds of movies. Like Scorsese clearly loves his characters. Like, when you watch Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort's a deplorable guy, but there's a sympathy and a tenderness towards him that is knowing, but also not necessarily entirely condemning and pointing and laughing, because Scorsese understands that we could be that guy.
Yeah.
Michael Bay just seems to be interested in pointing at these guys going, what an idiot. Aren't these guys bozos? Man, this big rich guy they tortured, he was a big douchebag, wasn't he? And
he likes unlikable characters for some reason.
And it's so obnoxious and abrasive and annoying. There's that phrase, like, the worst thing a movie can be is boring. I don't think that way. I mean, I don't like boring movies, but, like, the worst thing a movie can be for me is annoying. Like if something's boring, I can passively watch it. If it's annoying, I actively want to leave. And Pain and Gain...
Yeah, that's fair. Sure.
Pain and Gain is so awful. It's because it's one of those things where it feels like the director, like, showing you what he thinks of humanity, and he just seems to hate it all, and just seems to be laughing and mocking everybody. And it's just like, it's a downer. It's like... all the colors.
It's almost like you got a blueprint of his soul and you didn't like what you saw.
No, it was like a black void, and it just made me feel gross.
That's really sad.
So the reason I like Godzilla 2014 more than most people, I went and saw that the day after watching this, and this actually put me the Pain and Gain put me in a bad mood for like a day. Actually, it was that like.
It sounds like the kind of movie that makes you go like, why do I go to movies? Like, what?
Exactly.
Yeah. And
then I watched Godzilla 2014, and it actually gave me some kind of satisfaction on some level. So I'll always be in the debt for that.
Anything that wasn't mean-spirited and that you understood what was happening, you probably would have appreciated.
Yeah,
like,
but it was Godzilla 2014.
Yeah, sure.
So that's Pain and Gain. It sucks.
Here's a movie I'm sure you haven't seen.
What's that?
The Flatliners remake.
I did see the Flatliners remake.
It's god-awful.
It is god-awful.
It's insane how... like... It's nothing. Really, literally, kind of nothing happens in that movie.
Didn't you and Eric watch it and choose not to review it because you had nothing to say about it?
I think so. It's just no one there wanted to make that movie. It was very clear that it was just a thing somebody had heard of, and a studio commissioned people to make this movie, and they're like, I guess we're doing that. Like, they have Kiefer Sutherland come in as a cameo, and all of everything that I had read said that it wasn't actually a remake, it was a soft reboot, and that Kiefer Sutherland was coming back. I was like, oh, well, that was the main reason I went and saw it, because I was like, oh, well, he's going to reprise his original character, and it's going to be like, he's this older guy that went through this, and he's probably going to tell him, like, yeah, don't kill yourselves for a few seconds, that's a really bad idea. All the stuff from your past is going to come back to haunt you, don't do that. And he doesn't do that, he's just like a teacher?
Yeah, does he have like a
doing
weird
an
wig?
accent, I think? Am I remembering that right?
I think so. He had a weird wig on, too.
Yeah.
Right? That movie, I can't
even with that movie. I never say that. But I don't understand why they made it at all.
I don't know why, because Flatliners isn't exactly like a hot commodity.
No, well, here's the thing. Flatliners is one of those things that the people that saw it remember it fondly. Okay. It's a well-liked movie, generally, I think. I think it's one of Schumacher's better directed movies. It's not a brilliant film, but I really like it, and I think that there's some improving you could do. I mean, I think there is a remake to be made there. It's well known enough that Smallville felt the need to rip it off into an entire episode where Lana is doing Flatliners, just straight up doing She's just like killing herself for a few seconds, bringing herself back. Like they do Flatliners.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In a Smallville. Okay. It's ridiculous. But anyway, it's not. Don't watch it. Because it's just there's nothing there.
Anytime I try to think about what happened in that movie,
I'm
like, wait, no, that was Blumhouse's Truth or Dare. That was another generic slasher movie.
I wish Blumhouse had made that movie, actually.
They probably would have done a better job.
Like, and I don't remember who made that, to be honest with you, but like Flatliners was just it felt like a studio decided a movie had to be made because it was a property somebody had heard of and maybe somebody would go see it, and then they cast it with people you've heard of, like Kitty Pryde's in that.
Yeah.
What's her face?
Ellen Page.
Ellen Page, thank you. You're just better at that than me. And so then they cast it, and then like the last thing they did was write a script. It's like somebody like went into a bathroom and wrote a script real quick, and yeah.
Yeah, and so Ellen Page is in that. Unfortunately, I think there's a few others, but the one actress I remember is in that just made me sad is Kiersey Clemons.
Who's that?
She's a good young actress who is in nothing but really bad things, and I just want her to get her break already.
Get work, yeah.
Yeah, it
like in good things.
Yeah, she was actually cast as Iris West in the Justice League movie, and thank God she got cut from it, because that just would have been another thing that she was in that was bad. I just want her to be in good things.
So Connor, I don't know if we can do it, but we got 15 minutes.
All right. Top 5.
Can we do it?
Yes. Number 5, I Frankenstein. That's number 4. My bad. Number 5, The Vatican Tapes.
I heard about that, but I didn't see it.
This is not a found footage movie.
Uh-oh.
This is made by
movie?
Yeah, it's just a black screen. It's an audio drama.
It's footage. It's 2 hours of footage of a cassette tape just spinning.
Wow, I'm so glad I paid money to listen to this audio drama while I watched a tape spin.
We got surround sound, you guys.
Is that Michael Pena? I think it is. So this is a horror movie that was directed by one of the guys who did the Crank movies and Ghost Rider 2. I think it's Mark Neveldine who did this. It's basically just a generic exorcism movie that looks like it was shot in 2 days. So it looks like a really crummy, grungy music video, like where like the colors are just like it looks like it doesn't have a visual design to the way it's meant to be shot. It's like it's super saturated or desaturated, but not because it was meant to look that way, just because we need to color correct this somehow. And it's a super, like Flatline, it's a super generic horror movie that's an exorcism thing where, man, something's up. What's going on? Oh no, a crow flew. How did this crow get into this bus? And it's like this, and it's shot like a headache directed it, where it's like constant cutting and
like a headache directed.
But it has Michael Pena in it,
yeah,
as like a priest, and it has like an actress who I might have seen in something before as like the lady who's possessed, and then basically the Vatican Jaimin Hansu's in it from Serenity and Guardians of the Galaxy and Constantine.
Yeah.
So the Vatican is just a couple of priests in like Sith robes, and they walk around the Vatican. They're like, yes, the Antichrist will be coming soon. Let's look at our monitors, and they look at like TVs. And anyways, spoiler alert: you guys don't care because no one's heard of this movie.
Yeah.
The exorcism doesn't work.
Oh.
That's the big subversive twist of this movie.
Oh.
And then Michael Pena is like,
so did somebody just die? Like
no. The woman's actually possessed by the Antichrist.
Oh, okay.
And the Antichrist is using her body, and it's like, oh no. And like the way this movie was ending is like it's gearing up for this big finale, and I'm like she's like the stadium sold out, and she's there. And then Michael Pena's like, we gotta go take her down. And I'm like, if this movie continues to go for as long as I think it's go, I'm just gonna walk out. And then it just stopped. So I didn't need to walk out. It did it for me.
The movie walked out on itself.
But it also isn't a complete story. It just stopped. Oh, the Antichrist didn't get exorcised.
And so now the Antichrist is going to take over.
And it's called the Vatican Tapes for some reason.
You know what that's like? That's like the end of Brightburn.
That is like the end of Brightburn. It's very similar to the end of Brightburn. Anyway,
which would have made my list if it wasn't technically a superhero movie. But
all right.
It also would have been very high on my list, Connor. As would Glass have been.
Number 5.
Legion.
I saw Legion recently.
Remember Legion? Why would you go back to that? We don't mean the excellent X-Men TV show. We're talking about 2010, right?
Yes, 2010.
is the worst integrated CG of all time.
It is ghastly.
Yeah, it's awful. We don't have a lot of time. I'm not going to talk about it. It's just a really bad horror movie that it's convoluted. It doesn't make any sense, and and again, everybody's a plank of wood. There's no good performance in that movie. It's not an idea. It's just a bunch of CG kind of thrown at you, and it's just angels versus demons on Earth. With it's basically, I don't know. It's as bad as Spawn. I don't mean the movie. I just mean Spawn. Comics.
I've seen this recently. I can ask you a quick question about this.
Yeah. Now, I haven't seen this movie in 10 years.
So that's the kind of movie where it's like, okay, I got this big idea. It's going to be heaven versus hell. It's going to be this whole thing, and God's lost faith in humanity.
And the whole thing takes place in a diner.
Oh, what's the budget? $5? It's a defend the fort movie like a zombie, but this time it's got heaven and hell. But then they forgot to change the beginning where they talked up a big game.
Yeah.
You
can't start there. If you want to do something like Signs, you have to start with it.
Yes.
It's like, okay, it's gonna be, and I don't love Signs, but the premise isn't the problem. It's like, we're gonna focus on this one family and what they do and what they're doing during kind of an apocalyptic situation. But you're right, this movie did not know it was that until the 11th hour.
And then also the book ending voiceover is.
I forgot about that.
It's one of those.
It's really bad.
You think that character goes through a character arc, and then they just mirror the voiceover from the beginning, which is this fatalistic downbeat voiceover, and it's like, oh, so you didn't learn anything from this? Okay.
It's Constantine also has that problem.
Oh, really?
This is way worse. And I like Constantine, but I talked about this in the rewind. There's a voiceover. You ever seen Constantine?
I've not.
There's a voiceover at the end. Constantine is tonally Legion is tonally like Constantine,
okay.
Except Constantine is fun to watch. But there's my phone's making noises or something. There's a voiceover at the end of Constantine that is basically John Constantine telling you that he's had a totally different arc than the one he had.
Wow.
But other than that, it's got other issues. But anyway, let's not talk about that. But yeah, Legion is insane and awful. And I was working at a GameStop at the time, and every 4 videos on the stupid video feed thing that we had to listen to all day long was the trailer for the Legion.
All right, the old lady makes me laugh. Number
me too.
4.
I think the only reason I went was because it was Pavlovian. It was I'm hearing this all day long. I have to go see it now.
That's funny. My number 4 is I, Frankenstein. I guess technically a comic book movie, but I can't find the comic book this is supposedly based on. I think it's somebody...
Is it like Cowboys and Aliens, where they...
I think so. It seemed like somebody just made a comic book to say they based a movie on a comic book.
Exactly, yeah.
Because the writer of the comic book is either directed or wrote the movie, so it seems like a con.
Wasn't that also kind of done with Noah?
Oh, I don't know.
Or was that an actual comic that came out first? Anyway, whatever.
It was actually a Bible that came out first.
The reason I good one. The reason I sorry, I don't know what I was gonna say. That movie the reason I didn't go see that movie was because it looked like Legion to me.
Let me explain to you what I Frankenstein is.
Yeah.
Aaron Eckhart is sexy Frankenstein.
With Legion effects.
Yeah.
Special effects in that are not any better than Legion.
No,
right?
no, they are not.
Or I didn't actually see it, but that's what it looked like from the trailer. Am I right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Good.
That's all you need to know. Aaron Eckhart is sexy Frankenstein, and it's exactly what you think it is. Number 4.
We have 5 minutes.
Okay.
I don't know how we're gonna do this. R.I.P.D.
I never saw R.I.P.D.
Yikes! Watch my review. It's alright. I did how we felt about all those years ago. It's buddy cop thing. It's just not funny. The premise is fun. It actually is based on a comic, but it's not technically a superhero thing, so I put it on here. But that's Jeff Bridges and
Ryan Reynolds?
Ryan Reynolds before Ryan Reynolds was allowed to make good movies, with the exception of that movie where he's buried alive. But I don't know if that had come out yet.
That was 2010, so it had.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, it's just really convoluted and bad and tonally uneven and not funny and has a lot of kind of stupid gross out jokes and stuff.
All right. Number 3.
Yeah.
Number 3, Gods of Egypt.
I avoided that like, you ready? The plague!
It's kind of amazing that this movie presents a perfect metaphor for itself. This is a movie that is basically it hits the same pitfalls that a lot of like wannabe fantasy series fall into with that first installment, like Terminator Salvation, but like the worst possible version, where it's like it's just so obsessed with world building and explaining things that it forgets to actually give you a reason to care, and actually doing anything compelling. And it's like, man, all this is falling flat. It's kind of amazing that the world in this movie is literally flat.
That's hilarious.
It was the worst movie of the worst year of this decade.
Wow.
2016.
And still not your number one.
It's still not my number one. Terrible special effects. Horrible performance. Chadwick Boseman is in this movie, and he's terrible.
And he's terrible?
He's terrible.
Was it one of those things where, like, he just wasn't into the into the story, and so he was kind of phoning it in?
No, it looked like he was trying to do something, but they didn't properly give him... It wasn't built around that kind of style. Because he's a very intellectual god, and it's like, what is happening? This was before Civil War came out, and I'm like, this guy's our Black Panther?
Oh, no!
But I also hadn't seen, like, Get On Up in the Jackie Brown movie he was in, so that was, like, my first exposure to Chadwick Boseman. Yeah, Gods of Egypt is terrible. And Jeffrey Rush is in it, too. Poor guy. Anyways, what's your number 3?
Okay, I'm going to switch out SD cards.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is A Wrinkle in Time.
Oh, man, how did I forget that?
It's rough, man. And I was excited about that movie. I thought it looked really good for the trailers.
I like that director.
Yeah. She was Selma, yeah?
She did Selma.
Which is awesome.
It's so good.
It's an excellent film, yeah. Wrinkle in Time does not understand the source material. The biggest mistake I made, and it's also bad. It's not just the sort of, like, it's a really bad script. It feels weirdly cynical. I don't even know how to describe that. I made the mistake of reading the book again before I saw it, and that made it a lot worse. This is not me going, like, it must be exactly like the book. It doesn't... It's like... It doesn't understand the spirit of the material in the same way Snyder doesn't get what Superman is.
Okay.
It's like that. It doesn't know what it's about, and it pretends like it's this like really smart, thoughtful, kind of quirky thing, and it also doesn't do anything creative with the quirky stuff. Like,
it's like she didn't know like how to properly like bring those like special effects and integrate it into like a weird way with that, and
it felt like, here's what's weird.
She felt really out of her element.
Yes, it looked like a TV movie.
It absolutely.
And there is a Wrinkle in Time TV movie that is better than this.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, because everything...
It doesn't look better than this, but it's written better than this.
Yeah, everything has, like, a very even lighting, and, like, the sets look pretty cheap, and, like, the special effects, like, when they're riding on, like, the leaf lady...
Yes.
It was...
Oh, that's...
That was, like, Spy Kids 2.
Yeah, it's awful.
I agree. My number... my number 2... Resident Evil, the final chapter.
Well, now why did you watch that?
Resident Evil 6, a.k.a. the final chapter, is the only Resident Evil movie I've seen.
I thought... So I knew you were going to either say, it's the only one you've ever seen, or, oh no, I'm a big fan. I've watched this entire franchise.
In theory, I want to have...
I saw 3 or 4. I can't remember which one, but...
I want to have that schlocky franchise that I like, even though it's not very good.
Well, yeah, those are fun.
And you know what that is for me? I've kind of come to discover?
What's that?
It might be Underworld.
Interesting.
I
just thought the first one was kind of boring, so I never watched any more of them.
It's like Shakespeare for, like weightlifters or whatever, and I kind of enjoy it on that level, you know?
That is now one of my new favorite reviews that needs to go on a box. It's like Underworld. It's Shakespeare for weightlifters.
She's a hot chick and she's got these tight leather, she's got nice butts, awesome, and then she's fighting lichens, they're like werewolves, and then she's like, oh, but actually the vampires, the bad guys, man, and Bill Nye, he's coming in, he's like, oh, Celine, you gotta do that. It's like, Yeah.
If the sequel to Jurassic House is anything like Jurassic House, that will be my schlocky. I love this franchise.
But like Underworld, like is like kind of like the inverse of.
So you're saying this should feel like that and be fun about it.
Maybe it is. I haven't seen any of the other Resident Evil movies.
But this one was not that.
And it makes me not want to watch any of the other ones.
Sure.
Because basically what happened is I went out to support Paul W.S. Anderson's movie, and I feel like I was being punished for going out to support this movie. Because it gave me a headache. I can't say that about very many movies.
Yeah.
It gave me a headache. Apparently Ruby Rose and Ali Larder are in this movie. I don't know. I could only identify characters as flesh tones and haircuts. No shot in this movie lasts for longer than 5 seconds. The average one is like the blink of an eye long. It is constantly cutting. It has no rhythm to its editing. And the shot compositions are constantly changing. So it's like wide, medium, wide, close up. And it was a nightmare. And I, at a certain point, I kept blinking because it was hurting. And there's a part where they're just getting progressively darker and darker environments, and they keep shining flashlights into the camera, and it was like a strobe light flashing in my eye. At one point, I actually looked at the wall to look at something stable.
It's like you paid for visual torture.
Yes, and then on top of that, it couldn't just be like a poorly made bad action movie. They tried to integrate these critique of religious critique and how that's integrated into politics and stuff, which is a conceivably fine thing for a movie that's not this, because there was talk about Noah's Ark and we've got to do this thing and you are one of a trinity, and I'm like, this is so stupid. And I'm trying to focus on that, and it's like I'm being punished for trying to focus on that because I'm getting a headache. And I was almost falling asleep because I was blinking so many times, and I looked at the wall to look at something stable. I hated it. So.
It's like have you seen any of HBO Watchmen?
I've not yet. I'm trying to finish reading the book, and then I'll get to it.
Well, that was a reference to that I was going to make, but I'm not going. There's a thing in that I'm just imagining. It's like you go to pay to have that done to you. Anyway.
Number 2.
Pixels.
That was so close to being on my list.
It probably is the worst movie I saw in the last decade, or it's obviously way up there. I don't think my number 1 is technically actually worse than it, but I hate it more. I certainly hate it more. But Pixels is, The thing that made me most angry, but I reviewed it, the thing that made me most angry about Pixels was that it was falsely advertised. And I don't know if I would have hated it as much if it weren't for that. It still would have been an absolute horrible slog with, completely creatively bankrupt, with a bunch of, again, jokes that aren't funny, and Adam Sandler, making a movie where he's pretending like it's for kids, but then here's all these things that are completely inappropriate for kids. But it was advertised without any of those things in the trailer, and there was no reason to think, except for the fact that Adam Sandler was in it, that it would be like that. Yeah. And he has made movies that are for a broader family audience that aren't Adam Sandler comedies. Mm-hmm. At least he made one, right? Did he make one, at least?
I don't watch Adam Sandler movies.
I don't either, but he was Click, right?
Oh yeah, he did.
So and there was another one that was like candy raining from the sky or whatever.
Oh, Bad Time. That was a Disney movie. Bad Time.
Yeah, so there's precedent for him making family comedies that aren't necessarily filled with inappropriate stuff for that audience, but also it wasn't funny, and it was obvious, and it was a short film that was a really fun short film that was, it's not really a film, it's just a special effect that's really cool, that Adam Sandler got his hands on and decided to turn it into a whole movie. And I think there could have been a fun alien invasion, kind of parody thing here.
Could have been a lot of fun.
But it's so one note. All they had... It's one of those things that... You remember when, and I bring this up a lot because I love it, remember when Dan Torrey said that the 2014 Ninja Turtles movie felt like it was based on the Ninja Turtles Wikipedia page? This is nobody involved in the project has ever played classic arcade games. And they walked and like they talked to like one person that plays games, or they like walked into like a barcade or something, and somebody mentioned these games all have patterns, and if you can master the pattern, then you can then you can beat the games, and like that's all they had, and there were things in them that weren't really about patterns. I don't think Pac-Man is really about patterns.
No.
Right?
I mean,
like, aren't those pretty randomized? Like, I don't think that's really about patterns.
Yeah, I mean, there's a pattern to the layout, but that's about it.
well, yeah, sure. But yeah, so like they had one idea.
Yeah.
And that would have been fine for like a bit, but
remember the part where the pixel monster turns into a human for no reason?
Yeah, what the heck was that?
Like,
it has no rules.
And then Josh Gad marries that, and then has.
Yeah, wait, I forgot about it. What is that? Yeah, well, see, it's difficult to talk about some things on this list because I don't want to remember them. And then there's the fact that the opening is good, and then the rest of it is awful.
Oh, with the kids?
Yeah, that part's fine, and I thought we were in for something. And then
the rest of the movie happened.
Yeah, although then Dan Ghostbusters. Help me out. What's his face?
Dan Aykroyd?
Dan Aykroyd has a cameo at the beginning of that, and as soon as Dan Aykroyd shows up, okay, this movie's gonna be terrible, because Dan Aykroyd is never cameoing in good movies.
I hated that movie. I remember when I saw it when I was like 19, and I watched that movie. I worked at the theater at the time, and I went to my car, and I just yelled about it for 15 minutes and posted it on Facebook.
And, like, yes, it's low-hanging fruit. Everyone hates that movie. It's notorious now, but I was excited for it.
It deserves its hate.
I was excited.
I was bad.
And I am so lucky I didn't bring my family, because I almost did.
It's terrible.
And I can't believe you're the only one. Yeah, all right, we're in for number one. Here we go.
The worst movie of the decade. My least favorite movie ever made.
Ever made. Not even just in the decade, ever. Ooh, I can't wait.
Black Hat.
I don't even know what that is. Sorry.
Chris Hemsworth is the world's greatest computer hacker. Chris, this is a 2015, January 2015.
And Jessica Alba is a scientist.
This is a Michael Mann film.
Who's that?
He made Heat, Collateral, Last of the Mohicans, the Miami Vice TV show.
So, like, major critically acclaimed stuff.
Yes.
That, like, matters.
Yes.
Oh.
This movie, I couldn't believe it existed when I watched it, and this is the only Michael Mann movie I've seen. That's not true. I saw Public Enemies with Christian Bale and Johnny Depp about John Dillinger.
Yeah, I missed that. I wanted to see that.
That was the first rated R movie I ever saw, so I don't remember it at all.
God, that's so surreal in my brain.
So how do I explain Black Hat? In China, a nuclear reactor goes kablooey, and then they're like, it got hacked, and then they go and find Chris Hemsworth, and they said, you're in prison for being a hacker, and Viola Davis is in the movie too, So, oh my God.
It's all coming back.
It's all coming back to you, like boomerang. So then they say, Chris Hemsworth, somebody didn't use your code. They basically used a variation on your code. And then Chris Hemsworth is like, no one uses my code but me. They disrespected, like, the hacker brotherhood or something.
What?
And then, they don't say that, but it's like, they disrespected me by using my code. I'm like this hotshot hacker who got put into prison for being the world's best hacker. And then...
But I just want to do this the whole time.
and nobody has any personality. Like, it's very dry. And then so basically what happens is some guy who has, like, no personal investment in, like, a Chinese power plant going kablooey tries to enlist the help of somebody who has even less of an interest in that happening. Like, there's no, oh, my sister was there. Oh, I know somebody who worked there, so it's personal. Like, there's, like, it's nothing like that. It's very clinical and dry, but then it's also very stupid. And so that's what makes it worse. So it's you know how I talked about the worst thing, I think the worst thing a movie can be is annoying? Well, it also sucks to be boring because this movie has boredom in spades. I fell asleep in this movie. I fell asleep for about a couple minutes. My brother nudged me awake, and when I woke up, I thought I was still dreaming because Chris Hemsworth is in an action scene and he picks up a bottle. You hear a crash sound effect while he's picking it up, and then in the next shot, it's broken and he's like fighting them like this.
That's amazing.
I don't know if it was because I was tired or and I like missed something. It was shocking. When I was working at the movie theater at the time, people were walking out of it constantly, and people who were like getting refills on popcorn like, this movie sucks. So it's not just me. Normal people like this hated this too, and the ending is just one of the most blunt like things where you're like, that was it. Oh, there's the bad guy. Stab. Okay, we took care of him.
So, like, it's the ultimate, this movie wasted my time.
Yes, and then it ends with Chris Hemsworth literally going to the bank.
Just going to the bank?
He goes to the bank.
Make a withdrawal?
I mean...
Why does he go to the bank, Connor?
Because he gets paid. Because Michael Mann paid him to be in this movie. I don't know why. I just remember him going to the bank and, like... And then, like, it said directed by Michael Mann, and I got up. It was 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Wow.
It felt like it could have been, like, 3.5. It felt longer than The Irishman. It's horrible. I hated this movie.
I haven't even heard of that.
Yeah. I only watched it because that was, like, that's when I first started working at the movie theater, and I'm like, okay, 2015 is going to be my year. I'm going to watch every movie that comes out. Black Hat.
You should have intentionally, like... not drawn people's attention to that so that like nobody else be like, is it that bad? I have to know now.
Look, here's the thing. Like, it's not entertaining in any way, shape, or form. Like, that's the thing. I can't imagine me enticing anybody to watch this. Watch Serenity!
Yeah, like, what is the appeal at all?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the worst feeling, I think, is when you walk into a movie or you're walking out of a movie and you go, like, why did anybody think anybody would want to watch this?
And it doesn't feel like they wanted to make it either.
Yeah.
And I don't know...
Because you can get a movie that's so compromised to the point where it just loses an original vision, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes, maybe I'm wrong, sometimes I feel like I can kind of tell when a thing never had a vision. And that's what Flatliners was like. The Flatliners remake, where it's like, well, no, there was no vision.
Yeah.
But this didn't even have... The thing you're talking about didn't even have the excuse of, it's got brand recognition, so somebody felt the need to make it. Like, that was an original film.
Yeah. And it has, like, people you've heard of in the movie, too. Like,
yeah.
Chris Hemsworth, just one of the many flops he was in that's not called Thor. But Viola Davis is in it.
Really?
There's a character actor named, like... you remember, like, at the beginning of Justice League when Batman takes down that burglar?
Vaguely.
He's an actor who I actually kind of like. He's in...
Oh, yeah, you're talking about on the roof, right?
On the roof. He's like one of the leads on the show Mindhunter on Netflix.
Okay.
He's in this movie, too. He looks like Tom Berenger and Jake Gyllenhaal's, like, weird love child.
So he's just showing up in...
He just, like, shows up and he just, like... There's, like, a part where it's like they're just trying to, like, pull on some kind of thread where Viola Davis and him are sitting in a car, and then they're all sad, and there's, like, so who did you lose on 9/11? I'm like... What does 9/11 have to do with anything?
That's so random.
Yeah.
When did that come out?
2015. January 2015.
Why would you just walk in the room and be like, so who'd you lose? 14 years ago, when you were nowhere near New York. Or are they in New York?
It's a globetrotting movie. Maybe they were in New York at that time. I don't know. I honestly don't care. And Michael Mann, he kind of is famous for action scenes. They look bad. They're poorly staged. They're just kind of like...
So how did that guy make that movie?
I don't know. It's like locked down and like far away from the action. And so you just kind of see people walking around with guns. It looks kind of like fan films I've seen. And
that's very strange.
Like the muzzle flares in the shots of the guns are like out of sync. And
what?
And it's like Michael Mann's been doing this since Collateral, where he has a very clean digital look. I just don't like the way it looks either. And so, but he seems to like it. But what's your worst movie of the decade?
I'm gonna get flack from somebody about this. I'm sure, but it's just how I feel about it, man. You ready? Maleficent.
I rewatched that recently.
Freaking hate that movie.
That movie sucks.
I hate it so much. Is it technically the worst movie of the decade? Probably not. Is it technically the worst movie on my top 10? Probably not. I hate it more than anything. I hate it so much. Maleficent is ostensibly about a villain who is evil, named Maleficent, which is a synonym for evil. In this, she just has that name and is misunderstood. And it's like the worst prequel imagining origin thing you can imagine. What were they thinking? It has 3 fairies that I want to punch in the face every time they're on screen.
I hate them.
Angelina Jolie is maybe that's maybe one of the best casting ideas of anything ever, and she does the best she can with what she has.
It's disappointing,
but it's like there's totally a movie there.
Yeah,
and that's I think the thing that hurts my feelings the most is that should have been great, and it was. Here's what's nuts. I didn't put this on number 1 on my list because of the history after it, but it is worth noting that this movie is the reason we've had the onslaught of live-action Disney movies based on animated things, because it did so well. Yeah! And, like, it's awful, and it did huge guns. It was like the 3rd or 4th highest grossing movie that year.
Yeah, that was like the same year of Guardians of the Galaxy. And,
14.
Yeah, and American Sniper was a big one performer that year as well.
I didn't see that.
It was fun. It was, like, some people hate it, some people love it. I just was in the middle on it. But well, I actually rewatched Maleficent because I couldn't remember a single thing about it.
I'm struggling right now, but I know I hated it.
And I like the new one was coming out, the second one. I'm glad you haven't seen the second one because it would probably be like the Creed movies on your best list. Like, the 2 of them combined would probably be, like, the worst movie you've seen.
No. Is it even worse?
I think it's even worse. Wow. Yeah, Maleficent is really bad. It's probably one of the ugliest designed movies. Like, the bog people she lives with in the swamp are just, like, they look bad. And, like, the special effects on them is really bad, too. And
sometimes it feels like we're also intentionally trying to just be as lame as we can in coming up with origins for things that also don't need origins. Like, again, it's the ultimate crappy prequel thing. It really is. And, like, what is with the way they did the dragon? Why would you do it like that?
I have no idea.
Was it like the prince guy turns into the dragon?
No,
or
so
I can't remember now.
She has like she finds a crow, turns him into a person, and now that crow is her lackey.
That's right.
And then she turns it into a dragon.
And then she turns that into a dragon. That's what it was. Yeah, she doesn't even turn into the dragon.
No.
She's supposed to, like...
And in Maleficent 2, you find out that there's this big... like, so, Maleficent's cool looking. Now there's a whole planet of Maleficents.
No way.
Yes. Played by Francis from Deadpool and Chiwetel Ejiofor, who is the bad guy from Serenity.
No, yeah. No, I love him.
I love him too.
No
and
way.
It feels like Angelina Jolie's barely in that movie. Like, her first scene, her face is facing away from the camera the whole scene, and it felt like you just got like a body double.
But it's called Mistress of Evil.
Yes.
Like, this time she's gonna actually be like an evil badass witch.
No.
And that doesn't happen.
No, she sits down for most of the movie. And you find out that she's like...
You could have called it Maleficent Sits Down?
Yes. Maleficent listens to people talk about mythology.
Oh, no!
Because the big dragon, she's like a descendant of a dragon.
It's the worst thing. I hate it so much.
It's really lame.
Oh my god. Okay, hey, let's do some runner-ups real quick. What are some really bad movies that you wanted to put on your list, but there just was not enough space for all the terrible?
Because we were not doing comic book movies.
Yeah.
Hellboy did not make my list. Hellboy would have been number...
put it real high.
Hellboy would have been number 2. I loathe the 2019 Hellboy movie. You don't get what I'm talking about, like the level of vitriol I have towards it.
Yeah.
It was just the right amount of ingredients. When I watched it, I was uncomfortable. I was like really stressed out, and I thought something while I was in the theater that I had never thought about in the hundreds of times I've gone to the theater. what if somebody walked into the theater right now and shot me? What if this is the last movie I ever see?
Why didn't you get up and leave?
Because no movie's ever broken me yet, and I am stubborn.
Okay, sure.
And it's only made worse that I finished watching The Golden Army, the second Hellboy movie directed by Guillermo del Toro, like hours before watching this one.
That's a mistake.
It's a huge mistake. It's like everyone is just mean and awful and like and like everybody's interchangeable. The special effects are egregious.
And it's weirdly kind of a remake of the first movie.
While also trying to be like an apocalypse thing.
I
hated it entirely, and it was just off-putting and just. I even like the weird, creepy stuff that could have been like. There's a scene that's almost made it look like a Sam Raimi movie. Even that, I was just like, I don't like it. I really don't like, and I should, but I don't. And then also on there, I got Justice League and Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Which I think are just pathetic.
Okay, let's go back and forth, you ready?
Yes.
Clash of the Titans.
Haven't seen it.
I didn't watch Wrath of the Titans, but I'm sure that would have been here instead. That's a lot worse. That's one of the first movies that I did a like solo review of on the channel that wasn't like a comic book related thing. But I reviewed it. I put that out the week Jason was born.
Wow.
I'm remembering now. That movie. Anyway, your turn.
50 Shades of Grey. I mean,
I meant to ask you when you said 50 Shades of Black if that would have been close to put on there. Is it that awful? I wouldn't have even thought to watch it.
So it's weird because like the first one is technically the most has the most artistic integrity of all three of them, but it's also like the material. Like Saw, yeah. But I don't know, like something about the first 50 Shades I actually like the least of, even though the story's probably the best one because it's made by a real filmmaker, and the last two are made by James Foley, who's made.
Is it because it feels like mean-spirited, or
no? It feels like it's one of those things where it's like the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Like their aspirations were up here,
yeah,
and because the material's down here, they just fell harder. That's what I'd say about 50 Shades of Grey.
Transcendence.
That is like cinematic NyQuil. Like.
That movie, I thinks it's really smart and is doing a thing you've seen 50,000 times before, or is hoping to dupe you into thinking it's a really intelligent movie. It's awful.
Pixels.
Planes.
I never saw Planes.
Go ahead.
Seventh Son with Jeff Bridges. It was a fantasy movie. Came out the same week as Jupiter Ascending. Jupiter Ascending was not the worst.
What won the weekend?
Well, that was also the same weekend the SpongeBob movie came out, and that was better. That was the better one.
It did pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
The Poltergeist remake.
Ooh.
But did not make my top 10 because it is technically better than the Flatliners remake. It at least started with kind of a premise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it was trying not to be the exact same movie as before. It just then was also creatively bankrupt. But like it was the wrong time to make it. Like those Ghost Hunter things were not as popular at that point like they had been 10 years earlier. Yeah. But that was not a horrible way to go with it. But anyway, yeah.
Slender Man.
I heard that movie was weirdly like cut up and a bunch of stuff was taken out of it, and like it's hardly a movie now.
It's hardly a movie. It's borderline tasteless, but also doesn't have enough bite to be tasteless.
So it's grits.
It tastes like whatever you put in it.
Whatever you put in it.
And
what did they put in it?
Hatred, and I hated it.
It tasted like hatred.
The best review I can think of for Slender Man is I missed the first jump scare because I was rolling my eyes. Yeah.
That's great. No, that's really good. Hitman Agent 47.
That is awful.
I didn't put it in my top 10 because it would be unfair.
Yeah.
I turned it off after 20 minutes.
Oh.
I didn't finish it. I couldn't do it.
Oh, but it gets so much better after the first 20 minutes.
Does it?
No.
Does it really? And I will admit this. I like the original Hitman.
Yeah.
I like that movie.
I haven't seen it.
Well, I like it. But that was awful, the 20 minutes of it I watched. Go
This movie came out in January this year. It's Replicas. It's a Keanu Reeves movie.
Yeah.
Where
I didn't see it, but I heard bad things.
Basically, my Letterboxd review of this movie is a letter to me now to remember how bad it was. Because as the year goes on and you watch more movies, and bad things don't necessarily stick with you as much as the good things. But, like, just here's why this movie is so bad.
Ghost in the Shell.
That movie is tied with me no longer working at a movie theater.
Wow.
Yeah.
No reason to elaborate.
No.
On that. What do you got? You got anything
90
else?
Minutes in Heaven.
The hell is that?
That is a Christian movie
Oh,
starring Hayden Christensen and Kate Bosworth.
Did they cast him because he has the word Christian in his name?
It is based on like
Kate Bosworth is in that?
Kate Bosworth is in it.
Bosworth. I'm sorry, it's been a while since I've heard her name come up.
Yeah, it's been a while. So this is the movie about the guy who died and then claims he went to heaven for 90 minutes and he saw heaven.
Oh, that's
And then he came
right.
back to life and he spent hours and hours in pain. Well, that's
That
kind of
looks
like
like the sappiest thing.
and it's trying like calling it sappy would be too much of a compliment. It's trying to be sappy and it's failing so hard at it. It's kind of ironic it's about a guy who lost life and then spent so long in pain because I felt like this movie had no life and I felt like I spent like weeks in that theater just in pain of like when is this thing over? When is it over? And I hope you like images of Hayden Christensen lying down because you get like 14 different angles of it constantly. It's awful.
Wow.
And the heaven sequence when you finally see heaven is one of the most numbing, repetitive, like horrible scenes I've ever seen.
How many more do you have? Because I can do this for a while.
All right, you list off 3.
I'm listing off 3.
Yeah.
Aladdin.
Wow, that low.
Hated it.
Wow.
I was upset with that movie. Yeah, I mean, low enough that I put it on a list of things I didn't like. I mean, it wouldn't have gotten anywhere close to my 10,
Yeah.
but, 30 maybe. Daybreakers.
That was on your... Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't like it, but I didn't think it would be that low.
It had so much potential.
Mhm.
And it just sucked that it, like, especially when it degenerates into another, just, like, tear down the system movie. Like, it's... Yeah.
You know what my favorite thing about that movie is, though?
It's maybe not quite bad enough to be on here, but I thought I'd mention it. I don't like it.
Willem Dafoe reciting Elvis and, like...
I forgot he was in that, yeah.
He plays a character named Elvis, and he's like...
This is back in, like, 2010, 2011.
That was
This is
2010.
really early, yeah.
I got Fantastic Beasts 2, The Crimes of Grindelwald.
I have the first one on here.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I disliked it so much I didn't bother with the second one. And I don't know what people are talking about. Like, people like that movie. I thought it was an absolute mess.
Oh, I
the
can't...
first one.
I can't wait to hear what you think of the second one.
I'm probably never going to watch it.
You're probably making the right choice. It's horrible. Like, there's a whole sequence where, like, you finally get to what's going on in the movie, and somebody goes on, like, a 10-minute explanation of what's happening, and then somebody says, oh, okay, but you're wrong, because this is what really happened. You watch another, like, 10 minutes of somebody explaining what really is going on. It's horrible. And, like, the blonde chick, Queenie, I like that character. From the first movie.
Yeah.
The thing they do with her in this movie is so dumb and throws her under the bus so hard. I don't believe that they did that with these characters. Dark Phoenix was like...
Sure.
and then, I know this is Rasco's least favorite movie of the decade. Pirates of the Caribbean 5.
I didn't see that.
It was bad. Got any more?
The Dark Tower.
Yeah.
The Carrie remake.
I never saw that.
Well, it was bad. And finally, Terminator Dark Fate.
Whoa!
I hate it. It's
Whoa!
I don't like that movie.
Wow. Well, I think...
I already reviewed it and argued with Eric for an hour, which was really fun. But yeah.
The Nun, which is a Conjuring sequel spin-off thing.
Yeah.
Man, remember when The Conjuring was a good horror movie and The Conjuring 2 was just a really good sequel?
Remember when you saw, and I didn't see 2, but remember when you saw The Conjuring and you never had the thought, this should be a cinematic universe.
Yeah. Warcraft would be down there for me. I hate that movie. And then
Yeah, I didn't see it, and I love that director, but I heard bad things, and it's not appealing to me in the first place.
this won't count because I technically haven't seen it all. Rasco was watching this when we were in New York. Sucker Punch. I've seen about half of it.
That was on my list too. I forgot to mention it. Yeah.
That movie is awful. It has like no stakes at all. Like nothing happened.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of dream sequences that a person could not possibly have, because how could you be influenced by video games when I don't understand that movie.
And then if I had a number 11, finally, Assassin's Creed.
Which I didn't bother with because after that opening weekend, just everybody and his dog said it was the worst thing ever. And
I fell asleep during that movie. During the first, so I was tired. I went to a screening that had comfortable chairs that lean back.
you fell asleep?
And it had 3D glasses that made it nice and dark. And it was like, this can get cozy, or this can be the worst, I can watch a bad movie. And then, so I fell asleep during the first, go back in time action sequence. And then afterwards, my brother nudged me. He's like, hey, wake up. I'm like, why are you waking me up? And then it was the ending of that action scene. And we get to the second action scene, and I said, what happened in the first one? Did they just get captured? Yeah, basically that's all that happened. It's a weird contradiction of a movie where, you're there for the action scenes, but the action scenes don't need to even exist because they don't affect the story at all.
Like Sucker Punch.
Like Sucker. It's very, applicable to Sucker Punch. They're very similar movies, actually. And Michael Fassbender. Why aren't you in good movies anymore, man?
I don't know why he did that.
I don't, he was in Steve Jobs, and then he said, okay, I am no longer going to be in good movies now.
Well, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for watching us talk about movies we don't like. I'm excited to see all the folks in the comments that like movies that I said were some of my least favorite movies of the decade. But, it's we're all different people that all come from different backgrounds, and different things hit us differently. I can't wait to see if there's any Maleficent fans.
I don't think that is a thing.
I don't know. I don't think I've talked to anybody on the channel that likes that movie, but I've definitely talked to people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, well, thanks again for watching, and Connor, thanks for doing this
no problem.
marathon of good and bad movies from the last decade.
It's been a pleasure.
See you later, folks.